Hello, everyone, and welcome to our week 5 live session. So, as we've stated plenty of times throughout this course, these are going by very, very quickly. A little bit of housekeeping going into the following week here. Chef Catherine and I will actually be meeting in Chicago this weekend. We will be flying out tomorrow. So, just so that you guys are aware, some of the assignments that you guys turn in might be graded until Monday. Normally, we do have a 48-hour policy where the instructor needs to get the assignment graded back to you. But for this weekend, because we will be at a chef summit, all of us will be meeting together, and we're going to discuss how great the school is, how amazing the students are, and just how fantastic these programs are. So it's just a great way for us to get to finally meet each other. We're all working remotely from different areas. Chef Catherine will be flying in from Mexico, and I'll be flying in from Los Angeles. Happy to see that the weather is nice and warm over there. I would definitely, absolutely, for the life of me, not go if it was anything under 60 degrees. I'd be like, it's too cold for me. I'll see you guys on the next one. But just with that said, just be aware of that. Some of your assignments might take a little bit longer to get back to you. A little bit of about our week 4 assignment. Just wanted to go ahead and let you guys know that you guys have done an amazing job. I've been doing quite a bit of grading today. And from what I've seen, you guys have really nailed those reductions on that sauce. I believe I haven't gotten any sauces that have been watery or anything like that. They've all just been these beautiful, rich, thick, just luscious meat sauces. The bread has puffed up nicely. The only thing that I've seen with the bread is that a lot of you guys were using a cookie sheet. And this leads me to believe that we're not really watching these live sessions all that much because we did discuss that the recipe called for a quarter pan and those cookie sheets are basically half pans. So a lot of your breads were a little bit on the thinner side, but basically what I was saying during the reviews is you did a great job. The process is done correctly, but just imagine you were to fold your bread in half and then you would have that beautiful, just voluminous, soft, beautiful bread. But the crust has been fantastic. The reduction on the meat sauce has been excellent. The polentas have been absolutely beautifully creamy. An amazing job this week, guys. I am really happy with what I've been seeing so far. And does anybody have, oh, sorry, go ahead, Chef. Do you have anything if you've seen from your class?
No, pretty much the same over here. Seen some just nicely reduced ragouts. It's not a thin tomato sauce. This is a thick ragout. And yeah, just some coloring issues sometimes from focaccia, which is standard. As we dabble with the baking world, it's about learning your oven first and foremost and learning more about dough and just getting comfortable with that. But one little tip is, if you haven't heard this before, sometimes you have hot spots in an oven. And so that means one corner or one side of your bread or muffins are going to get overcooked. All right. It's going to have more color. What you want to do usually to counter that, halfway between, just like if you were roasting a turkey, right? And the back side of the oven is going to get hotter. You're going to pull it out, completely do a flip so that the back right corner is now the front left corner, right? So you're going to actually even out that baking. If you find that you have an uneven heating oven, that would be the only thing that I really noticed. Just kind of learning more about your oven and making sure if you don't have a thermometer in your oven, get one. You can probably get one for like $5 or $6 at the hardware store. It'll help you make sure that you've got the right temp there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. That was something that I was letting people know during the reviews as well. Make sure that you understand your oven. And you can really see it on those focaccia breads. If you take a look at it from the top, just take a look at how you put it into the oven, and you'll see this corner is a little bit browner than this corner over here. This one's a little bit lighter, so it just kind of gives you an insight to it. And your oven will always pretty much heat that exact same way. Every single oven's a little bit different. But does anybody have any questions very quickly on week 4 before we jump into week 5? Anything you guys saw, if anybody wants to chime in and see if they enjoyed anything during that week, love to hear it.
Good evening, Chef. Don't go down.
Algie, go ahead.
What I want to say is that my scale that I get from the school, it break. So I had to actually convert my grams into teaspoon in order to get my measurement for the focaccia. But
Yeah.
I had to go and do some a little research on that, how to convert the grams into teaspoon. But it actually worked out perfect. So now I gotta go get another scale because the scale was broken.
Good job doing conversions. If it's I have heard that you're not the only one that had a scale that was breaking, and if you already went through the batteries and it's not working, I would contact student accounts. Just reach out to them, because this scale tends to have some issues sometimes. So maybe they can send you one.
Yeah, I'm just going to go Target and pick up one.
Okay.
Thanks, Chef.
And what you did, Algie, was fantastic. Just any time in the kitchen, I can tell you, Chef Catherine will tell you, nothing ever goes exactly like you planned. There is always something that's going to go wrong, no matter how prepared you are for an event or for a day like that. Something's always going to happen. So what you did was fantastic. You improvised, you adapted, you overcame. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that Bear Grylls meme. It's one of my favorites, but just a great job with that. But let us, Kyra, go ahead.
Thanks, Chef.
All I had to say was basically that it's just wild at how I noticed that my knife skills have improved a lot, like since the beginning of when I joined Escoffier. That's all I had to say.
Absolutely. And we're going to be using those again this week. That is something that this term we're putting a lot of emphasis into. And you'll see it with a lot of these recipes. So speaking of, let's just jump right into it. So let's go into week 5. Let me actually go ahead and turn this on and go to Zoom, share my screen over here, and we are sharing this one. All right, so week 5, we are going to France, basically the motherland for the school. We have Escoffier on our shirt. Mine didn't actually come up because I'm using a black screen in the background, but this is where pretty much talk about just traditional French cooking. So with this week's assignment, we will be doing 2 things. We'll be making a ratatouille and a cassoulet. This term, as we've said before, there is no options in can I make this one or that one. We are doing everything every single week, every single one of the recipes. The only time that was the exception was the Mexico week, where we did 2 of the 5 that were presented. But we will be making both the cassoulet and the ratatouille this week. So let's get into the ratatouille. So for this one, we're going to need zucchini, eggplant, and onion, as well as green or red bell pepper. Or if you want to use both, that's perfectly fine. But take a look at the left side over here. We have these little knives, which means we're going to be looking for knife work this week. Medium dice is what we're looking for. And I will go ahead and show you a picture of that right now. Just so that you guys get an idea as to what it is that we're looking for. This is a mise en place picture here for this week. We have the herb chopped up, we have the garlic chopped up, we have all of our veggies here, just nice and diced up. This is exactly what we should be looking for. With the salt and pepper, those are always perfectly fine to have like this, because we are always going to be using those to taste. But this is a picture from an old student, and this is exactly what we're looking for. Take a look at these dices. They're all nice and uniform. While the peppers obviously aren't quite as, cubed up as these guys over here, they're still nice and squared up. Which is exactly what we want to see with these. So let me present this again. So yeah, zucchini, eggplant, onion, and peppers is what we're going to need. If, for example, you can't find eggplant, that is perfectly fine. Just add 4 more ounces of zucchini, or use a squash or something like that. Just make sure that you have about 12 ounces of these, a combination of these 3. Obviously, don't make it all onions or anything like that. Shoot for zucchini, squash, eggplant, and onion, as well as the peppers. We're also going to need garlic cloves that are nice and minced up, 8 ounces of diced canned tomatoes. If you're using fresh tomatoes, that's perfectly fine, but we're going to go through the process of peeling, de-seeding, and then dicing. Olive oil as needed, 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley that has been chopped up. Make sure that your herbs are nice and finely chopped up. Always ensure that when you're cutting herbs, you're slicing them. You never want to chop up and down, otherwise you lose a lot of that chlorophyll to your cutting board. You can see that along the edges of the herbs, you see this bruising that just looks very unappetizing. It makes it look like your herbs are old and wilted and just kind of going bad. We're going to be using 1 bay leaf, and remember with bay leaves, guys, once we go ahead and use it for what we need it, which is the aromatic flavor that it's going to release into our food, discard those. I would urge you guys, go ahead and take a bite out of that bay leaf once it's done, just so that you get an understanding as to what a customer would experience if you accidentally left a bay leaf for them. That is one of those things that you always want to count. How many bay leaves went in, how many bay leaves came out? Because if a customer gets that, it's not appetizing at all. But I would urge you guys, just give it a bite, see what a customer would experience. I always go ahead and do stuff like that just in case, just so that you always have that in the back of your mind. 1/8 of a teaspoon of dried thyme. Remember, if you're going to use fresh thyme, you would just multiply the amount by ×3. I believe we've talked about this before, but if you're going from fresh to dry, you would divide the amount by 1/3. And if you're going from dry to fresh, you would multiply the amount by 3 times. So it's just 1/3 times and 1/3 divided. So you guys always have that easy conversion from fresh to dried herbs. and then salt and pepper as needed. What we're going to do is start with that oven, get it nice and hot, get it up to 325, heat a large oven safe saucepan over moderate heat. Where we start stovetop, that same container, we're going to go into the oven. So make sure that what you start on is that same vessel that's going to go into the oven. Do not do something that's not oven safe, that has like a plastic handle or anything like that. We're going to add olive oil, lightly coat the bottom of the pan, saute your zucchini until half cooked, and then remove it from the pan. Now you add your eggplant until it's halfway cooked, remove it from the pan, and then add your onions and pepper until half cooked. Add your garlic for about a minute or so. Remember, if we add the garlic and the onions and the peppers together, your garlic is going to begin to burn, and it's going to get this very bitter flavor. So we don't want that. That's why garlic goes in very, very last minute. So remember, just halfway through, because we are going to finish this recipe in the oven, you want to make sure that these vegetables after the reduction still have a nice, beautiful, small al dente to them. You do not want this to turn into mush. It should not look like the baby food that my daughter eats. But after we do go ahead and get all of that stuff into our pan, we're going to go ahead and add all of the other ingredients that we have over here. So we add our bay leaf, our thyme, our tomatoes, all of that stuff goes right into the pan. We stir it up, and then we're going to cover it and place in the oven for 30 minutes. Once you do go ahead and have that out of the oven, you're going to see that if there's too much liquid still, remove the lid and just place it back, but stovetop. Cap that heat to a moderate heat, wait for it to start bubbling a little bit, and then just reduce that guy down until you reduce that liquid all the way down. What we're looking for is very similar to what we had with the ragu last week, where there shouldn't be an excessive amount of liquid. This is not a vegetable soup or anything like that, but just also be very mindful that you have to be careful not to scorch the bottom of the pot. As there is onion, there is tomatoes, there's all these stuff that while we're not adding direct sugar into this recipe, all of these release sugars. So make sure that we are just very, very aware of that. And then at the end, as always, taste, season, and adjust your seasoning as needed. I know we're going to get a question right now if we're able to do it like the movie Ratatouille, where they kind of use the mandolin to slice it up and then do the circle ones. Absolutely not. If you want to go ahead and do that just to show us, please go ahead and do so. I would love to see your plating on that. But what we're looking for this week is the dice knife cut. It's very, very important that we practice that. Does anybody have any questions on the ratatouille? 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right, so let's move on to the cassoulet. A lot of instructions here, but not that difficult of a recipe either. It just looks a little bit big, but don't be intimidated by this. What we're gonna need for this is we're gonna need half a pound of dried cannellini beans or any other type of white bean. You can use navy beans, which I think are gonna be a little bit easier to find than the cannellinis, but just basically any type of white bean is gonna be great for this. 1 quart of chicken or vegetable stock, really up to you. Low sodium, unsalted is always gonna be best. Somebody chime in, tell me why. We ask this question often, but want to make sure that this is getting across to you guys.
To not oversalt.
Absolutely, Deborah. You want to make sure that you're the one that's controlling the sodium that goes into this. If your chicken stock or vegetable stock is fully seasoned, then that leaves no room for you to season it how you want. And also, we're going to be using a reduction for this. So these things might be just enough salty when we use them, but after we get that reduction, all that does is concentrate the flavor. That liquid is rendering out, but that salt stays right inside of that dish. It just gets smaller and smaller, more concentrated and more concentrated. So yeah, try to shoot for that low sodium stuff. If you're using regular one, then just be mindful of the amount of salt that you're using to taste at the end. Now, after that, we're going to need 2 tablespoons of duck fat, bacon fat, butter, or oil. Your call with that. Some salt pork in a beautiful medium dice, some chicken thighs. If you have chicken legs, that works perfectly fine. But once again, we're trying to shoot for that dark meat. And if you can find chicken leg quarters like we did for the previous weeks, then that'll work as well. Just cut it on that joint and have those 2 little separations. Fresh sausage links, what you're shooting for is just that Italian sausage. It should be a sausage about maybe this big or so. You want to try to avoid the breakfast sausages, as those aren't the right consistency that we're looking for. It should look very similar to like a bratwurst or something like that, as kind of the size that you're looking for. So we're going to need 2 of those, yellow onion in a small dice, carrots roughly chopped, celery roughly chopped. So with that, you're like, what does roughly chopped mean? And I'll get into it right now when we get into the recipe, but we're going to need 2 tablespoons of garlic that has been minced up, and then 1 bay leaf once again. So key step number 1 is to soak your beans overnight and be sure to cover with water. Remember back to the feijoada assignment where we had to soak those beans overnight, same concept here. What you did on that week, do it again here. If you need a refrigerator because your house is super hot, make sure that you do so. Make sure that there's enough water so that your beans don't sprout. You guys know the deal with that. So we're going to drain and rinse the beans and set them aside. Preheat our oven to 300 degrees. And then in a large, heavy bottom, again, oven safe pot, heat your fat over medium heat. This is another one of those dishes that we're going to start up. We're going to start stovetop and transfer that same vessel into the oven. So make sure, again, no plastic on the handles or anything like that. What we're going to do is we're going to season our chicken thigh with pepper only, no salt. Can anybody tell me why we don't want salt on this right now? We're going to brown both sides of this and set it aside.
Will it dry it out?
It's going to force it to release a lot of that water content that it has, and it's going to make it so that you might not be able to get that browning that you're looking for. And then we also have chicken stock that's going into this. We have the salt pork that's going into this. So there's a lot of salt that's already going into this and getting reduced. So we want to be very mindful with how much we add to it. But thank you so much for chiming in. And then we're going to brown on both sides. Remember, Chef Catherine went on a little bit of a rant on you guys on how to brown poultry. So if you need to go back and just kind of have that smack on the back of the head once again, go back to that live session. Make sure that you get that beautiful color. We're going to render out as much of the fat as possible. There's nothing worse than getting chicken soup or something and you have just that skin that's just super, super floppy. It has an absolutely horrible mouthfeel to it. Next thing we're going to do is after we remove the chicken, we're going to brown the sausage in the pan, remove that guy and set it aside. And in that same pan where we've rendered out all of this beautiful flavor, now we're going to pick it right back up with our onions. We're going to cook those guys into a translucent, add our beans, carrots, celery, garlic, and bay leaves. With the carrots and the celery, I would say just cut them into thirds. You want large pieces that you're going to remove. Do not dice these guys up. Do not cut them super small to where you can't pull them out. You want them to be in huge chunks that you can just grab with your tongue or with a spoon and take out. These are not going to be part of the final product. What we're looking for is just for them to release that beautiful flavor that they have, that nice sweetness from the onion, that beautiful flavor from the celery. That's going to get reduced. That's going to get released into the broth, and then it's going to reduce down, and then we're going to take those guys out. What we're serving at the end is just beans, chicken, and sausage. No veggies with this guy. So after we go ahead and add all of our ingredients there, we're going to add our stock, bring up to a simmer, and then we're going to simmer stovetop for about 45 minutes or until your beans are almost tender, but still have a little bit of a bite to them. So they should kind of be, you're shooting for that kind of al dente center still. You want to make sure that we do not cook these beans all the way through stovetop. Otherwise, they're going to rupture on you, and we do not want the beans to rupture. We want them to keep that nice structure where when you bite this dish, you have that nice little crack on the skin of the beans. Then you have that beautiful soft chicken, that soft sausage. That's what we're shooting for here. So once we've cooked this stovetop for about 45 minutes, here's that other key step. Remove the carrots, the celery, and the bay leaf. Remember, guys, one bay leaf goes in, one bay leaf comes out. Always keep that in mind. So we remove the veggies from it, and then we add our salt pork, sausage, and chicken, skin side up, back to the pot. Your beans should be completely submerged in the liquid. And then at this point, you're able to arrange this nicely. So you can go ahead and put a sausage on this side, put a chicken on this side, organize it however you want to, because what we're looking for at the end of this is for you to take a picture of the pan when it comes out of the oven. A lot of times, these cassoulets are going to be served family style, and then you just kind of serve yourself like that. But do be very mindful when this goes into the oven. Monitor that water level really, really well. You do not want to be biting into crunchy beans. Crunchy beans are the worst thing in the world. And then they get this very ugly, just burnt smell to them. It's going to really mess up this dish. So once it goes into the oven at 300 degrees, we're going to cook it uncovered for about 3 hours. Again, right here on the recipe, ensure that the beans remain submerged in the liquid by adding stock or water as needed. So as you see that reduction going, if you feel like your beans are beginning to get exposed or getting a little bit of a crunchy exterior, give them a quick mix and then add more liquid to it. The chicken and the sausage should gain a lot of color, and a light brown crust should appear at the top. And then we're going to serve this immediately. So let me actually show you guys some pictures of that, and then we will take any questions. So this is what your cassoulet should look like at the end. You can see where that water level started, and then just where it's at now. There's this person actually did not take out the carrots and the celery. They diced them up, but I really wanted to show this reduction here off to the side. That is what we're looking for here this week. You can see that browning on the chicken, on the sausage over here. And you can see that the beans are still nice and submerged pretty much. They're just kind of right on that water level. Here's another one over here where this one's already plated up, but the beans are nice and just whole. They haven't ruptured. They're still holding their structure. The chicken has a nice golden brown color. The sausage as well has a beautiful just brown color to the top of it. Over here we have, let me show you guys ratatouille. You can see this guy has no water at the bottom of it. The vegetables haven't turned into mush or anything like that. You can really make out, here's my zucchini, here's my pepper, this is my onion. And this is exactly what you're looking for here. Beautiful little dices, nice and plated up. This person decided to send an extra picture of their ratatouille, kind of like that movie where they did the mandolin on these guys. And this is perfectly fine if you want to send it to us extra. But what we're looking for is this. This is what we're going to grade. If you send us this, you're going to get a 0 for your ratatouille because we did not follow the instructions or the techniques that we were looking for. And it looks like I'm having an issue with my Google Drive here. But yeah, any questions on this assignment, guys?
Only question we had, Chef, was using a cast iron. What you want to be using is a Dutch oven if you have that.
What's a Dutch oven?
I will pull up a video, a photo of a Dutch oven. Dutch oven can be cast iron or cast iron covered in ceramic.
Is that the same as the stone casserole dish or something?
It's these guys here.
Okay.
Does the size of the cast iron matter?
You do not want to use a cast iron. A cast iron is not going to have a lid.
Sorry,
you don't need a lid for this week's assignment. Sorry.
Oven, sorry.
For the Dutch oven, I think.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Somebody was talking. You said the cast iron does not have a.
No, sorry,
cover?
I misspoke there. We don't need a lid this week. But yeah, what you're shooting for is one of these guys, something that's oven safe. With a cast iron, you really don't want to be cooking too many liquids in your cast iron as it's going to pick up that seasoning that you have at the bottom. Cast irons are more for just searing, finishing off in the oven. What you're looking for is one of these guys, a pot that'll be stovetop safe and then oven safe. You can see here that they're on the stovetop, and then you can just transfer this right into the oven. It's one of these guys here.
What about stone?
A stone pot?
I have a stone casserole dish.
I think you should be fine with that. It should be nice and oven safe. It should insulate the heat nicely.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys. Any other questions on this assignment? All
No.
right. Then we are all set and ready to go. Chef Catherine, take it away.
All righty, class. So we are back into the world of French cuisine, right? The namesake of our school, Escoffier. Hello. What do we know? We know a lot about French cuisine so far. I think in the beginning, we learned about the brigade system, right? Escoffier, he was in the army, right? And what do we know about armies? Strict and regimented, right? So he came in, he said, you know what? We gotta flip this show on its head because you guys are smoking in the kitchen, you're drinking, you're a little unruly. We need to clean this up, make it tight, all right? No alcohol, first and foremost, in the kitchen. If you want to drink something, you're drinking water with lemon in it, right? This is going to keep you hydrated, keep you going. Number 2, no smoking. Smoking is for outside. Smoking in your kitchen, you're going to get ash flown around, right? Number 3, order of, command. All right. Just like in an army, you've got different heads and you have different roles. Same as how he just built out a kitchen so that there's good communication, right? People can move up through the ranks and people know what their duties are, right? This just gave a bit more streamlined organization. This is what we use in kitchens to this day, the brigade system. Without a brigade system, it's going to be a little bit nuts. People are going to be running all over the kitchen. I'm going to be trying to prep half of Chef Jerry's stuff. Chef Jerry's going to try and take over my rice pilaf, and it's going to be total chaos and mayhem. So Escoffier rolled in, and he brought regimen into the kitchen, which was really needed. Okay. Not to mention, I kind of jumped in right in the middle just because this is Escoffier, but we go back, right? Obviously cooking had been going on since, well, the start of man, right? Whether it was utilizing fire, hot geysers, popping up water, drying products through the sun, cooking and eating was going on, right? As time progressed and people started settling down into little specific regions, little kind of taverns opened up, making big pots of food, lots of boiling, right? Pretty simple local fare, using whatever techniques and products that you'd find locally. Again, France is a very locally driven food country. They use what their country is giving them. Okay, so let's pull into a map of France, and then we're going to start talking a little bit about how things influenced and changed French cuisine. I mean, as we know, French cuisine is hot cuisine, right? That is it. So let me pull up the map of France and then get going. We're going to talk about a lot of cool different dishes that hail from this region and tie it all actually back to cassoulet. So here we go. We are in France. All right. So as you can see, I'm going to scroll in so we can get this going on. France. All right. Here's our location. We were just in Italy, right? We were going all up here. And now we notice, whoopsies, we get a little too hot, right? So we're bordering, right? We've got France, we've got Italy that we're bordering. All right. So this is where the Alps are, right? Switzerland, mountains. We're also bordering Germany. Okay. So again, what am I saying? Influence, influence, influence. There's going to be this crossover region here. Swiss cheese, right? It's going to be utilized. Italian techniques, the coast, right? We're going to have a lot of seafood coming here. Next, we've got another mountain range, but we're bordering Spain. So you're going to have a different influence and different cuisine down here in the southwest of France. Again, we're moving up. Look at how much of France is actually coastal, right? We've got the Bay of Biscay. So guess what? They're going to be eating a lot of seafood all along this area. And as you can tell, we're not too far from the UK, right? Right across the way. It's right there. They're almost touching. We've got Belgium influencing a little bit as well on that cuisine. So what do we think? What do we think that we're going to have? There's also the Rhine River that's running through here. That's also going to have the influence. We're going to have mountains. You're going to have pasture areas. What do we think about when we hear French cuisine? What are some of the key dishes that you might think of? Or
Quiche.
Quiche. What type of quiche? Is there a specific quiche that you're talking about? Quiche, quiche Lorraine. Quiche Lorraine, right? Loaded up with cheese and bacon. What else?
Crepes.
What other?
Grapes.
Crepes. Great one. Crepes. Okay.
Croissants and French bread.
French bread, baguettes. Is that what you're saying? And croissants?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What else? Cheese.
Souffle.
Thank you, chef. I was wondering. Hello. Is anybody going to say the and wine? Yes, cheese and wine. Did anybody take a guess as to about how many varietals of cheese, different versions of cheese, are currently produced in France?
36.
36. Good start. That might just be in one region, though. Bump it up. Thousands. We're talking about the thousands. Yes. Thousands of different varietals of cheese.
I was pretty sure.
Hey, that's okay. No. One guess. That could have easily been for one region. So you're close. All right. Just then multiply that by about 10. All right. So what do we think? Where do we know? What do we know about cheese? Where does it come from?
Cows.
Cows. Yes. Moo. Okay, but what else? We got goats. Where else? Remember, because we need to create about 4,000 different varietals of cheese. So we better start pulling in some other animals, right?
Sheep.
Sheep, great. Yep. Ewes, yeah. So we got goat, cow, sheep. What else? All right, well, we're getting there, okay? Let me just pull up an idea. So now do we think, okay, if we've got multiple different varietals of milk, right, coming from different animals, now we're also gonna have to start thinking about how this cheese is gonna be produced, right? Is it all gonna be soft? Is it gonna be hard? Is it gonna be aged? Is it gonna be funky? Is it gonna be blue, orange, gray, black? What's it gonna look like? It's gonna have a rind on it. Are there going to be edible parts and inedible parts? How long do we age it? All of these factors are going to start to contribute to how we have so many different versions of cheese in France. And they're all going to have their time and place and application in dishes, right? Most of them are going to be standalone. You eat them, you enjoy them, and you sit on, you eat a beautiful piece of dried fruit or fresh fruit and cheese, and divulge that with sipping slowly on some wine. So let me pull up a map of the cheese in France, some of the cheeses in France, and just so you can get an idea of what's going on here. All right. All righty, here we go. This one is just kind of a fun one. Like I said, it doesn't have, this is just a pretty relaxed one. It's an artist rendition, but I think you're gonna start to see some of those more common names that you'll say, oh yeah, I know that that's used in this dish, right? So up here, let's start up here, right? Gruyere. Does anybody know what Gruyere cheese is used in? Has anybody ever seen that before?
French onion soup.
Onion soup.
Way to go. Yes. So we know, what do we think? Okay, that melts really well. So I can use that in dishes that I might need to melt my cheese. All right. Now, on the other hand, brie. I'm sure you've all seen brie on a menu, what's mentioned before. This can be melted, but it's got a rind on it. All right. Again, these are just the artist rendition. But you've got blue. You've got this is a log of goat cheese. You've got camembert, boursin. I'm sure you've all seen boursin in the grocery stores, right? That's one of those French cheese that got really manufactured and pushed across the pond. Pretty affordable considering it's really soft, light. You can find it mixed with herbs as well. Emmental, all right, Roquefort, raclette. My suggestion, these are just kind of the really beginner levels, right, of cheeses. None of these are too aggressive. None of them are too funky. My suggestion for you all is the next time that you go into a cheese store, see if they're giving any tastings away, right? Buy small pieces, because small pieces are gonna be, if you find out you love one, you can go get more. If you find out you hate it, you're gonna have spent a lot of money. Cheese like this can get really pricey, okay? If you do have a Trader Joe's tends to have some reasonable prices on unique imported cheeses, all right? Maybe throw a party and invite, well, I don't know if that's COVID acceptable these days, but it's fun to have everybody bring a different cheese, right? Then nobody's spending a lot of money, but you could get introduced to like 4 different types of cheese if you had 3 friends over, right? And everybody brings a different bottle of wine from a different region. This is just a way to kind of get some exposure to the great big world of cheese out there. Again, a lot of these cheeses are not going to be, not are all suitable for cooking, okay? But a huge handful of them are. I want to just pull back, since we're talking about the regions of cheese, and also say, all right, so we know cheese and wine are going together, right? And I've got one map of the wine regions in France as well. And I want to pull that up for you guys, because this is huge. So the other important thing, remember we were talking about DOP last week from France. In Italy, France has it AOC, right? So this is appellation contrôlée, which means only the specific wine or cheese can be made in this region, all right? Just like champagne, right? We know it's that bubbly, delicious wine we use for celebrations, right? However, champagne can only be grown in the Champagne region, all right? Anything that's grown outside of Champagne, right? This is your Champagne region in the northern region up here, sparkling wine. If you find sparkling wine in other regions, it is not Champagne. It could be Cava, it could be Spumante, it could be Prosecco, but it is not Champagne. All right, now we go into Alsace. All right, this is the Alsatian region. This is what's bordering Germany. So what do we have? We have Gewürztraminer and Riesling, both traditionally kind of what we think of as more German wines. They are sweeter and they go really well with the German influenced cuisine here. This area of France has a lot of sauerkraut and cured meats. Okay. Next, we go into Bourguignon, right? So it can get overwhelming. There are tons of different varieties, but if you know, oh yeah, I've had a Pinot Noir. I like Pinot Noir and I like Chardonnay. So now you know, okay, well, I'm going to start looking for wines in this region, right? We've got Beaujolais. Beaujolais is one of the wines that starts off really young. They have a huge celebration. Beaujolais, it's a huge celebration during the harvest, and they're famous for the Gamay varietal. So under here are the varietals, and these are the regions, right? You've got, again, the Rhone region, and then, of course, we've got Corsica, Provence, now, and Languedoc. We've got the seafood coming in again, right? So what do we have? Rosé and blends. The Southwest, all right? This is Malbec, all right? Malbec is heavy. This is also where foie gras and cassoulet come in. We're going to start going into that. And then, of course, the Bordeaux, we've got Cabernet and Merlot, Loire, right? The Loire Valley, Sauvignon, Muscadet, and Chenin Blanc, all whites. Up here in this area is also Normandy. Normandy is famous for a drink called apple calvados. Okay, this is called calvados. Calvados, you will find it is an apple brandy. It's sweet. A lot of apples grow in this region, right? So that can be used to flambe. It's also used to sip on. The more you dive in, you're going to find all these unique little nuances, again, within France. Like I said, France is all about what's going on locally. All right. So if there's going to be a lot of cherries, we're going to see that in a dish called clafoutis. All right. I'm going to pull up a few photos of blah, blah, blah food. So we can start putting some, foods to these words, because French words can get a little confusing. Clafoutis is a very famous French dessert. Wonderful, delicious, and quite easy to make, actually. All right, traditionally used with black cherries, but you could use any really stone fruit to get this beautiful finished product. You basically make your base, and then you top that in, top it with your cherries, and you get or blackberries, things like that. And it's cake-like and custard-like all in one. Really delicious, and like I said, very easy to make. Another dessert that you might have heard is tarte tatin, okay? This is an apple tart. This is made by inverting a dish and cooking those apples in a simple syrup, putting that base on top, and that's how you get this beautiful form and this beautiful color. This was made originally in France, but it spread worldwide by two sisters who owned a hotel. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go into some of these more savory dishes as well, which is, I want to talk a little bit about duck confit. All right, as you can see, this beautiful dish, you see this crispy, beautiful skin. This is what it would look like when you're preparing it. You're going to actually be making this in farm to table. Where is it? It should be, there's not a photo, but it is, to confit something means you're completely submerging it in fat or sugar. There we go. It looks something like this when you cook this. All right. This is all about preservation. All right. Now, typically with that cassoulet that we just learned about, that Chef Jerry just went over, you would be using duck confit in that cassoulet. That would be that meat component that's going in there. All right, because this is a dish that's typically consumed during the winter months, right? You make confit, you've got this preserved, you're taking your other cured products, right? Sausages, salt pork, all of that stays down in the cellar, right? In the cold area. Remember, we're talking about pre-refrigeration times as well, all right? And you've got a cold cellar and you've got storage. So you you slowly cook all these beautiful ducks, because ducks come from that region, okay? The Southwest, the Maghreb, okay? And you get those confit legs, you pull one out, it's preserved, it stays there because you don't have the cellar, right? The fridge or the deep freezer, and you put one in that cassoulet and you've got a huge meal that's rich and satisfying. Now, so we've got preservation techniques. I want to talk a little bit about the Southwest. Again, the Southwest is really famous for the duck and duck products. Also, we've got a lot of sausage coming from that region as well, and a wonderful debated topic called foie gras. Does anybody know what foie gras is? And it's okay if you don't. Maybe you've seen it on a really fancy menu.
Duck fat.
Duck fattened. You're really close, Algie.
Almost
It
like
is-
a pate, I think, right?
You can make pate out of foie gras. I love it. You guys are getting there. So foie gras sounds a little gross, but
Liver.
it is the fattened liver of the duck. Okay. So there's been a lot of debate, and that's why I want to bring this up, because it's really interesting. First of all, I want to show you how glorious this dish can be. It is extremely expensive. It takes a lot of labor to get to foie gras, but the things and the creations that you can make out of it is incredible. I mean, just unreal. If you ever get the chance to order it, I highly suggest doing it. It's a great experience. When I first tasted my foie gras, I thought, whoa, what the heck is going on? This is unlike anything I've ever tasted in my life. So foie gras, this would be a lobe. This is how it comes in. All right. That is the fatty liver right there. 2 lobes that will be separated, as you can see. Right. So that's what it starts off looking like. All right. Just like a liver. Right. Except it's totally fattened. Okay. How does it get fat? Well, back in the day, it was a little bit not too kind, and they would nail down the duck feet and then force feed the ducks. All right. Now, the ducks actually don't have they have a thing in their neck that doesn't stop them from eating. So you can actually, there are some more humane ways of executing foie gras. All right. So the ducks aren't nailed down, and they can be treated quite well, and you get this beautiful product out of it. It has been outlawed in New York State. It was outlawed in Chicago. Then it came back and we said we've got more problems to deal with than outlawing foie gras. California, it's been outlawed for a while. Chef Jerry, is it still outlawed out there?
I am not sure, honestly.
Yeah, it goes back on and off. Before, from saying we can serve this, we cannot. But if you look at this will melt in your mouth. Okay. It is highly fatty. So what do you have to do? You've got to get your pan super hot and high to sear that outside and not overcook it. Otherwise, it's just going to turn into a pool of fat in your saute pan. All right. As you can see, it goes really well with pickled items, sweet jams, because there's this contrast of fat and silkiness, and then richness. You want something tart to cut that. You can, as you can see, this is extremely high-end food. All right. As Serenity, I think you were talking about pate. You can make, pate of foie gras. Right. You can use that. You can make foie gras terrines. This is, when I think of French food, I think of foie gras. I think of terrines. I think of pate. I think of, food that I didn't know what the heck it was until I started in culinary school, right? When we think of a French bistro has pretty approachable food, right? You might have your coq au vin, right? Chicken with wine. You might have your beef bourguignon, okay? Again, beef cubes cooked slowly in wine with vegetables. You're growing up, you have a quiche Lorraine, that's pretty cool. But the bistros are going to have a beautiful steak with pommes frites, right? With French fries. You're with a nice sauce. You're going to have escargot. Does anybody know what escargot is?
Is it like a snail or something?
Yeah, Darian, I saw you had it. You were going for it. We got, yes, snail is escargot, a traditional, again, French delicacy, right? What's else a little bit crazy about the French? Frog legs, right? The French are known for kind of interesting and unique dishes, right? But again, this was just taking what was going on in the land, right? Snails, you're walking around in the forest and it's after a rain, you see snails. You take those out and eat them up. They're actually delicious. You usually cook them with a bunch of garlic and butter and herbs. There's even a dish. Let's see if we can get it. Escargot. A dish that is made just for cooking your escargot. Yes, bingo. Here we go. I'll show you this. But you load that up with butter and garlic and parsley. And trust me, you don't even know that you're eating snails. All right. That's part of it's part of the fun.
Chef, when you mentioned that other dish, I guess it was the duck fat or something.
Yes.
It sounded like you were saying frog. Yeah, I was going to say frog.
Frog legs. Yeah. Well, that was coming. That was coming, Deborah. So these are your snails, and this is traditionally the dish that you will cook your escargot in. Basically, the snails get taken out of their shell, dropped in there, and tons of garlic butter with parsley, and you just broil those. And it's honestly exquisite. Like I said, it's a lot of things. This is kind of what I want to get at with you, class. We can be apprehensive, right? Intimidated about tasting different foods that we think, what on earth, you're kidding me. You're going to eat snails and frog legs and fatty duck liver. This is gross. However, we have to give ourselves the chance and the opportunity, right? It can't be totally wrong if so many people like it, right? Or we start thinking about, you're going to learn more about this in Farm to Table, but offal, right? Hearts, kidneys, intestines. If you like sausages, right? The best type of sausage is going to have a real intestine making that casing. That's what gives it that snap, right? Like when you bite into a great sausage that has that good snap on the outside, that's a real casing as opposed to a fake casing, artificial casing. All right. Tons of deep flavor comes in from these unique organs in different parts that are we're oftentimes looked at as second piece or second quality because the main muscle we're going to the rich and elite. However, the flavor that you get and actually the nutrition that you get from these ingredients is incredible. I've got some crazy stories. I'm sure Chef Jerry does too, about tasting things that you would never think that you normally would even approach, right? Any fan favorite that you got for Chef Jerry about eating a food that you thought, what the heck, and you kind of changed your mind?
Absolutely. So let me first and foremost go back to the foie gras in California. I've just looked it up right now, and it says that it's now legal to serve it, but it is not able to be made here. So it needs to come in from out of state in order for you to be able to serve it. So you need to import it. It's illegal to force feed here in California still. But one of the things that I will tell you guys is taste something at least twice in your life. Give it a second shot. I did have a lot of people that were telling me during their narratives this week that they've had polenta before, but that it was super bland. They didn't like it. That this time that they tried it, that they were like, oh my God, this stuff is so good. Like I really enjoyed it. It's just the application, the way you cook it, the seasoning on some of these things. But one of the things that I would urge you guys to look up, and I had it from a Filipino friend, Chef probably knows where I'm going with this, but balut. It was something that I tried the first time I tried it just by itself. I was like, you know what, let me taste this just as is. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it is basically a duck egg that has been inseminated. And it begins to develop the little duckling, and then you eat it before it fully grows and hatches. So if depending on what stage you eat it at, the one I had beak and feathers and all that stuff, so it was nice and crunchy. You got all those bones. First time I tried it, wasn't a huge fan, but I told them, well, you know what, let's try it again. So the second time I kind of put my own touch on it. I added salt, lemon, and chile, and I was like, this is good. It tastes like a scrambled egg with chili on it. So it's just one of those things, but I would bring up a picture, but I don't want to get fired. So I'll urge you guys to just look it up yourself. It's a little bit unappetizing in terms of what it looks like.
Yes, I agree. So, be bold and be bold in the kitchen. If somebody offers you something, try it, taste it. And like Chef said, don't just write it off after one attempt. Give it another go. You might have had it not properly prepared. And then next thing you know, wow, this is great. I remember the first time I ate tongue. And actually, I was at culinary school, and we had a thing called Grand Buffet. We're walking around, and one of my classmates says, all right, we're serving this. I said, oh, yeah, cool. I want some. What is that? It's like, well, I'm not going to tell you what it is. Taste it first and come back. So I thought, all right, let's roll, right? I mean, it's being served at culinary school. It can't be, that crazy. And so I go sit back at my table. I eat it. It's delicious, just absolutely tender, moist, and scrumptious. And I go back, and he's like, so what'd you think? I said, loved it. What is it? And I said, can I have some more? He said, sure. And I said, but tell me what it is. Tongue, cow tongue, beef tongue. I said, woo, 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 woo. All right. Well, things you learn, right? Normally, I don't think I would have been, jumping down to get it, to try it. So sometimes it takes that as well, not really knowing. There are cultures that eat bugs, right? Bugs can be delicious and crunchy, and yeah, exactly. Chapulines, right? full of nutrients. So I guess what I'm saying is just, some cheeses as well are going to smell, to be quite honest, awful and rancid. However, you give it a little go, right?
Like kombucha every week.
Right?
And then for me, guys, like coming from like a Mexican background, tacos are like a massive thing. You guys can keep your tacos de asada, which is your beef meat, like flank steak and stuff. I don't want none of that. To me, give me the tripas, which are intestines. Give me the tongue, like Chef just said. Give me the tacos de cabeza, which are just the head just kind of rendered down. You pull all that cheek meat, all that stuff. Some brain matter goes into it. Just that stuff is incredible. Anytime we cook a full pig, every time I go to Mexico, we do butcher a whole pig. We kind of cut it down. The first thing that I grab from that pot that has all the meats cooking in it is a liver. That is my favorite part. Liver, intestines, all that stuff is so delicious. I don't want none of the meat. That stuff, you guys can have it.
I eat chitlins.
Chitlins, there you go, right? See, so this is all about, you can start thinking about, okay, well, I've tried this, so I'm open to this, right? Chicken feet are delicious, right? Sounds crazy, but they are so sticky. They're full of gelatin, right? They actually, in the Philippines, they call them Adidas they're a street food, and they make a joke because they're running around, right? Adidas, like the shoes. But they are usually first you're going to boil them in some seasoning and then grill them, and they become crispy and crunchy, and you're just sticky all over, right? It's just absolutely delicious. Pig feet, right? Pig feet, tons of things. Remember, every country that we go to and that we're going to be traveling in, it all started with the basics, right? We weren't living in this time and day where you're cutting, you're going to the store and like, well, I just want chicken breast with no skin and no bones, and completely detached from the product itself, right? And there's a really high price point for that, right? Chicken livers, though, on the other hand, or chicken feet, pretty cheap and actually full of nutrition.
I found chicken liver for $1 a pound before, and it's so good.
Yeah, and I think a chicken breast.
I eat chicken liver, like the gizzards too.
Yeah, see, there you go. You're already going in. I always say deep frying things is the great way to start, because you're going to get that crunchiness, right? And then you realize, okay, I could totally do this. Like fried chicken livers. I was not into chicken livers at first. It's like fry them, dip them in a sauce, boom. Now I love pate, right? Because you get accustomed to the flavor profile that's found in liver, which is going to have a lot of mineral content, all right? Iron, things like that. It's stronger in flavor. It's not as mild as the muscle points. All right. So I guess what I'm just saying is France is probably one of your best countries in to think about. Wow, they've got some crazy food and some funky smelling stuff. But let's get into it. Algie, I see your hand up.
Hey, Chef, can I share my screen with the class?
Yeah. What are you going to show? As long as it's nothing inappropriate.
Oh, no. It's
I'm just messing with you. I didn't think you would, Algie.
No, we got this dish back home. It's like a sausage, what we call black pudding.
Let me see how I can do this. Chef Jerry, do you know how to do that?
Yeah, give me one quick sec. I think we would have to make him a co-host for that.
I think so too.
I can Google it real quick for you, Algie, and
I'll just make him a co-host and then take him off. You should be able to, Algie, you should be able to share your screen. You should have a button at the bottom of your screen, a green button that says share screen with an arrow pointing up, and then click the screen that you would like to share.
Can you see anything?
No, but we can't see you either.
Oh, okay. Well,
so that might be a bigger thing.
All right, my man. I'll just bring it up and you can talk about it. But here's like a Google search of black pudding.
Perfect.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Yes, which would also be like haggis or boudin noir. All right. This is taking and using blood, right?
Yep.
To cook, and it adds so much mineral and so many minerals and vitamins into your food. This is what it's all about. You're going to find these products literally in every single country. All right. It's just going to have slightly different variations on the flavor profile, right? You're going to find cured sausages in every country, but based on the country, you're going to have, what spices are available. Those are going to be going into it. So kind of connecting this idea of food being all very similar, but all very different. One thing I like to make a joke about is meatballs. All right. You think about meatballs, right? Well, guess what? Almost every single country has a version of a meatball, whether it's ground meat mixed with, we're going to be making kofta later on, all right, mixed with spices. We have hamburgers, right? The hamburger actually originally came from Germany, from the rural area of Hamburg, chopped steak, right? We've got albondigas. You're taking ground meat and mixing it together with the flavorings and spices that is familiar to your local cuisine, right? Chicken soup, right, is going to be everywhere, but you're going to garnish it slightly differently. Maybe you're going to add scallions and green onions, and you're going to throw some star anise in there. And it's going to be more Asian influence. Maybe you're going to garnish it with, you're going to finish it with vinegar, because that's how the flavor profile is more a little bit sharper and acidic in Eastern Europe, right? Maybe you're going to stir an egg into it. Just get friendly and familiar with all types of food. Chef, you want to cut this and hop into the last section of more food, because I've got this cheesy potato recipe that I cannot wait to show you guys. I don't know if Chef Jerry knows about it. It's called aligot. All right, let's cut and come back to study hall.
All right, guys, so thank you so much for joining us. Remember, your assignment is due on Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. CST. And if you guys have any questions for us, just send us a message. Quick reminder, once again, we did say it during the beginning of the live session, but Chef Catherine and I will be in Chicago over the weekend. So some of your assignments that come in Thursday, Friday might not be graded until Monday. So that 48-hour window is going to be a little bit more lenient this week. So do not fret. They will get graded for you. We're not just going to leave them there for a couple of weeks. We'll get them back to you as soon as we can. And you guys have yourself a wonderful week.
Thank you. Thank you.